he could possibly spend the next 136 years in the electric chair because it's America. You know how people always like to compare America to Weimar Germany? It actually was the case. Okay. As you guys know, Trump got indicted, he got arraigned, indicted. Lots of new words. So, okay, just to summarize everything that's happened. Indicted means it's when you take it's like the grand jury decides that whether or not they want to bring criminal charges to you. And then they're like, okay, we'll bring criminal charges. And then arraigned is when you come to court, the charges are read to you, are given to you, you plead guilty or not guilty. Let's learn about some of these charges. Okay, 34 felony charges. This is the indictment. They're actually quite, so here's the thing. They're quite underwhelming. Each count is falsifying business records in the first degree, which is like not real. I think in criminal law, that's not a big deal. The big deal is that these were ostensibly falsified with the intent to commit another crime. That's why it's a big deal. That's what makes it a big oopsie for Trump. And 34 of them. I think we worked it out yesterday that like a felony charge usually carries a minimum of 1 year in jail. If he gets found guilty on all 34 of these counts, he could possibly spend the next 136 years in the electric chair because it's America. So not a good day for the old Donald. Not a good day for the big man. But I don't know if they've completely specified exactly what he was. Oh, it was fuck. I do know this. Yeah, it was the intent to. I think the big crime that he was trying to commit was to suppress stories leading up to the 2016 election, to suppress stories that made him look bad. I think that was the big problem. So yeah, I don't really know what it means or how likely it is he's going to get in trouble. I think some of it is also comes back to Stormy Daniels of him paying the hush money. He still denies ever having a sexual encounter with her. So we do have videos, but we also have a lawyer in chat. So I need to make sure I know what's what. What's Dylan saying? Oh, this is, yeah. There's also been an offer from the Russian state media saying that he could potentially get political asylum in the Rostov apartment, which is where Yanukovych was at one point from Ukraine. And Russian state media always has this incredibly dystopian sci-fi setup where they sit around it's the fucking weakest link, right? It's like fucking Anne Robinson, but they're talking about news and politics and making suggestions, right? Like look at it. It's like a fucking game show. Like, remember this? It was two separate women, not just Stormy Daniels. Well, that's even worse for him. Look at that. Yeah, it's so bizarre. Anyway, yeah, slightly less unpleasant than Anne Robinson, the Russian state media dystopian hovercraft, like spacecraft layout. Anyway, we have a lawyer, so we're going to know what's what, okay? Why is she there? No, go to the waiting room, dipshit. Go to the waiting room. That's the lounge. What's wrong with you? Wait, where's the debate channel? Where the fuck is it? Oh yeah, here. Okay, I had it closed. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Okay, I'm not a fucking lawyer, asshole.
Oh, sorry.
I have a master's degree in law. There's a difference.
Have I committed credential fraud on your behalf?
You have committed credential fraud on my behalf.
Oh no, don't tell any. Hey, chat, lockdown. It's a fucking lockdown. All right. So, have I said anything wrong yet? That's the first bit. Have I said anything wrong so far?
It's a bigger deal than you're making it.
No, what I was saying was the falsifying business records crime in and of themselves, I don't think are like massive felony charges, right? It's the fact that they were done with the intent to commit another crime, right? It's the fact that they imply a bigger crime. Am I wrong?
Yeah. So anything in the first degree means that it is worse than a different type of that crime. Like murder in the first is worse than
Okay.
second degree murder is worse than manslaughter. So you're talking about the highest level of falsifying business records.
Okay.
Um, and then when you have 34 counts of it, yeah, if he does get convicted, the judge could consecutively sentence him for each count, which could be like the 136 years, but he probably wouldn't do that. It would probably be a concurrent sentence.
Okay. So even if it doesn't bring up this whole thing about the intent to commit another crime, it's still he's still fucked, basically. Like if he's guilty for this
Yes.
thing. Okay.
So the prosecutor does not have to show what that other crime was or prove that that other crime happened
Okay.
to bring this charge.
And have they actually, because I know that they've indicated roughly that the crime might be to suppress stories that made him look bad before the election, but I don't think they've
So that
actually
would be
read out
that would
charges
be
for that, have they?
no. So and they don't have to bring the falsifying business records, even if that element to the falsifying business records is there. They don't need to articulate what that other charge may or may not have been. I know that they think it is most likely some sort of electioneering at the state level to influence the 2016 election at the state level, which would make sense because they killed the story. The whole catch and kill thing was to suppress the story so that it didn't interrupt Trump's chances in the election. It could have also been something with the New York state taxes. It could have been any number of things, none of which the attorney general has to prove to get the 34 felony convictions.
Okay, so um so what's the purpose of this used to conceal another crime? Are they going to is it likely that they can bring further charges as they go on? Will that is that going to be like a discovery thing or what,
They
how does that
could, but
happen?
that's probably how they're getting out. I think that's how, and I could be wrong about this. I think that's how they're getting around, one of the ways they're getting around the statute of limitations.
That's what I wanted to, so I don't know what that means.
So, like, there's only, especially like for non-violent crimes, most crime carries with it some sort of statute of limitations where after a certain amount of time, if has passed since the crime, you just
Oh,
can't charge the person anymore.
okay.
So I'm not sure exactly because each state is different. So I'm not sure exactly if the in the commission of another crime portion is to get around that statute of limitations. It could also possibly get around it because Trump has not had a primary residence in New York for a while.
Okay.
So there's a number of different ways, but it could also be that that commission of the other crime bumps it up to the felony. But again, it doesn't matter that because they don't have to prove what that other crime was or that it happened.
So the statute of limitations basically means that these falsifying business records charges could be kind of like expired crimes, like crimes that can't be prosecuted, but they become prosecutable because they can imply another crime, even though the other crime doesn't need to be proven.
Yes.
That's weird. Okay, cool. But I got that right. Okay, that's fine.
Yes. I was also very impressed with your understanding of the indictment.
Yeah, yeah. It's grand jury. Yeah, yeah. I know exactly what an arraignment is. That's why you guys
um,
watch me.
Exactly, exactly. And if you hear people, when you start hearing Chads talk about how this is like political persecution, you just have to point them back to the fact that the DA didn't bring these charges unilaterally. He brought them on the basis of the grand jury indictment. So that jury was chosen totally randomly. It could
Okay.
have both Trump supporters and Democrats on it, and they still came back with the majority of them choosing to indicate or indict. So yeah, you can claim, Bragg got Soros money in his election and he campaigned on this, yada yada yada. But the point is that Bragg didn't make this unilateral decision. The people of the state of New York made this decision.
Oh, okay. That's yeah. Because is the implication here that Bragg has some kind of bias against Trump? Is that why?
Yeah. So like the standard conservative line is that this is political persecution and not and the weaponization of the rule of law, And this is actually exactly how a federalist society that we live in should work. This is an independent state with its independent judiciary and its independent law enforcement and its independent legal system, following its laws, using its power to impanel a grand jury to choose who they're going to indict in a crime and indicting that person.
So, but isn't the problem that, so I feel like the political persecution people are going to say that uh, this grand jury is from the Manhattan DA, and Manhattan is all like Democrat libcuck Jews, not that.
Well, that's where the jurisdiction of the crime happened. Like, we don't get to pick what jurisdiction it fall like just because Manhattan seems to be like they could file a motion for a change of venue to move the trial out of Manhattan if they think that the trial is going to be biased. But the crime happened under the jurisdiction of the Manhattan DA, and they can bring the grand jury and they get to impanel the jurists, but the jurists are still picked randomly. Alvin Bragg didn't go through a list of people and say, like, I want this person and this person and this person. Like, you get called to jury duty. Each side gets the same amount of strikes for cause and the same amount of strikes to just strike people for whatever reason, except obviously for like race, sex, gender, stuff like that. So Trump's defense can do all of that. They get just as much say there.
Okay, so the grand jury is just like is chosen the same way that like a regular jury is, just random people, citizens.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Is there anything else people need to know before I watch this?
I fucked your dad.
Nice one. Okay, fuck off. What the what? I think they mentioned the law, don't they? Look at the size of his fucking face, and he can't intake the information. If Donald Trump broke the law, why didn't they mention that? We just read the law that he. We just read it, you fucking idiot. Falsifying business records in the first degree. They said it 34 times, Charlie. What's wrong with this person? Why? Why is this the opposition? I know you guys hate that fucking Basil guy, but at least he says things that make you think for a second. You know, there's like some historical information that you need to be prepared with, or whatever the fuck else. This though, this is a whole different kind of opponent. Like, Jesus. Okay. Is Kirk also one of the guys who said there's no footage of the war in Ukraine? I don't know if he said that, but a bit past him. He had no response for this. Okay. Sure, dude. I took a risk. I rolled a dice looking at that one. Maruzzi, if you want to interrupt this guy talking, I'm going to stay in the chat. Wait, you didn't leave the... If you want to jump into the debate box and add anything while I watch this, you're more than welcome to, okay? Go in the waiting room now, actually, just so I can give you the perm. Anyway.
Under New York state law, it is a felony to falsify business records with intent to defraud and an intent to conceal another crime. That is exactly what this case is about. 34 false statements made to cover up other crimes. These are felony crimes in New York State, no matter who you are. We cannot and will not normalize serious criminal conduct. The defendant repeatedly made false statements on New York business records. He also caused others to make false statements. The defendant claimed that he was paying Michael Cohen for legal services performed in 2017. This simply was not true. And it was a false statement that the defendant made month after month in 2017. April, May, June, and so on through the rest of the year. For 9 straight months, the defendant held documents in his hand containing this key lie, that he was paying Michael Cohen for legal services performed in 2017. And he personally signed checks for payments to Michael Cohen for each of these 9 months. In total, the grand jury found there were 34 documents with this critical false statement. Why did Donald Trump repeatedly make these false statements? The
Why?
evidence will show that he did so to cover up crimes relating to the 2016 election. Donald Trump, executives at the publishing company American Media Incorporated, Mr. Cohen, and others agreed in 2015 to a catch and kill scheme. That is, a scheme to buy and suppress negative information to help Mr. Trump's chance of winning the election. As part of this scheme, Donald Trump and others made 3 payments to people who claimed to have negative information about Mr. Trump. To make these payments, they set up shell companies, and they made yet more false statements, including, for example, in AMI, American Media Incorporated's business records. One of the 3 people that they paid to keep quiet was a woman named Stormy Daniels. Less than 2 weeks before the presidential election, Michael Cohen wired $130,000 to Stormy Daniels' lawyer. That payment was to hide damaging information from the voting public. The participant scheme was illegal. The scheme violated New York election law, which makes it a crime to conspire to promote a candidacy by unlawful means. The $130,000 wire payment exceeded the federal campaign contribution cap, and the false statements in AMI's books violated New York law. That is why Mr. Trump made false statements about his payments to Mr. Cohen.
Whoa.
He could not simply say that the payments were a reimbursement for Mr. Cohen's payments to Stormy Daniels. To do so, to make that true statement, would have been to admit a crime. So instead, Mr. Trump said that he was paying Mr. Cohen for fictitious legal services in 2017 to cover up actual crime committed the prior year. And in order to get Michael Cohen his money back, they planned one last false statement. In order to complete the scheme, they planned to mischaracterize the repayments to Mr. Cohen as income to the New York State tax authorities. The conduct I just described and that which was charged by the grand jury is felony criminal conduct in New York State. True and accurate business records are important everywhere, to be sure. They are all the more important in Manhattan, the financial center of the world. That is why we have a history in the Manhattan DA's office of vigorously enforcing white-collar crime. My office, including the talented prosecutors you saw at arraignment earlier today, has charged hundreds of felony falsifying business records. This charge, it can be said, is the bread and butter of our white-collar work. And fraud presents itself in all different forms here in Manhattan. We have charged falsifying business records for those who violated federal
Fucking love white collar crime. Yeah. Yeah.
bank secrecy laws. We have charged falsifying business records for those who were seeking to cover up sex crimes. And we have brought this charge for those who committed tax violations. At its core, this case today is one with allegations like so many of our white-collar cases. Allegations that someone lied again and again to protect their interests and evade the laws to which we are all held accountable. As this office has done time and time again, we today uphold our solemn responsibility to ensure that everyone stands equal before the law. No amount of money and no amount of power changes that enduring American principle. I'll now take questions.
So we're going to take a limited number of questions. There are no follow-up questions. One
Okay.
question to the reporter. I will call
I don't know if I need to hear the questions. It just seems like I feel like everything that's important to know is already kind of said. Trump has obviously reacted to it. This is him at Mar-a-Lago after the arraignment.
Thank you very much, everybody. And we have to save our country. God bless you all. God bless you all.
I think so, there's like the daughter of someone. I think it might be the DA guy.
Hey, pause it for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
So something interesting, because I saw something about the gag order in chat. There isn't a gag order right now, and I don't think First Amendment wise there can be an actual gag order, but because this is a criminal case, there are other charges that could accompany or that could be brought if Trump continues to run his mouth. Like it would be feasible to make some sort of claim about jury tampering or witness tampering or jury intimidation. It could even be possible for like a contempt of court if he continues to go after the judge. So yeah, I just wanted to say like Trump is in a totally different world than where he normally finds himself in when it comes to court. He normally finds himself in the civil world. And there is a lot of leeway in civil litigation that you do not get in a criminal case.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
all.
the reason people are talking about gag orders as well is because Trump is he's already been tweeting out that the daughter of one of the judges, I think, is campaigned for Biden and Harris.
Yeah,
So
Trump
there's
Jr.
already
Trump Jr. tweeted that out.
yeah. So they're
Um,
already going for the intimidation tactics and all that shit. Yeah. Is
Yeah,
that why
so,
the gag
like,
order is
if-
like a potential thing or what?
Like I said, I don't think it would ever be a gag order just because of the First Amendment, but it could be maybe possibly contempt of court. And it could maybe possibly be some sort of like jury or witness tampering, because if you see what he has the power to do with that microphone, it is reasonable to believe that a juror would vote to acquit, even if they think he's guilty, just because they don't want the wrath of, like his army of dipshits, like busting down their door and killing them.
I mean, he's already named one person, so yeah.
Right?
Okay. Cool. All right. I'm gonna carry this one on. Okay.
Okay.
And I never thought anything like this could happen in America. Never thought it could happen. The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it.
Is that a crime?
From the beginning,
You stand accused of working tirelessly to defend this country from the people who seek to destroy it. Based.
the Democrats spied on my campaign. Remember that? They attacked me with an onslaught of fraudulent investigations. Russia, Russia, Russia. Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Impeachment hoax number one. Impeachment hoax number two. The illegal and unconstitutional raid on Mar-a-Lago, right here. They're lying to the FISA courts.
So we've gone through what? Russia, the investigation that actually did produce a bunch of indictments. What else did he talk about there? Ukraine and impeachment, where he fucking literally said that he would withhold aid in exchange for political favors from Zelensky. I don't know, dude. Perfect phone call.
Has he mentioned Obama's birth certificate yet?
Whoa, you just completely muffled there. Has he mentioned what?
Obama's birth certificate.
Oh, no, he hasn't yet. No.
I'm sure it's coming.
The FBI and DOJ relentlessly pursuing Republicans. The unconstitutional changes to election laws by not getting approvals from state legislators. The millions of votes illegally stuffed into ballot boxes and all caught on government cameras.
Oh my God.
And just recently, the FBI and DOJ, in collusion with Twitter and Facebook, in order not to say anything bad about the Hunter Biden laptop from hell, which exposes the Biden family as criminals and which, according to the pollsters, would have made a 17-point difference in the election result.
Wait, where the f is he getting that from? Biden's laptop. That's a new one.
His imagination, where he gets most things from.
Yeah, this is. It's always brings you to factcheck.com or some shit. Oh God. Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing coming up for that. Oh well.
And we needed a lot less than that, like about 16.
To be fair, it's 1 point for every inch of knob Hunter Biden's packing, so maybe.
0.9. It would have been in our favor, not my favor, our favor, because our country is going to hell. One intelligence agents who said Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. It didn't exist. It was Russian disinformation. Remember that? And that was all confirmed strongly by the FBI when they all knew that it wasn't Russian disinformation. And so much more. Our elections were like those of a third world country. And now this...
Is he gonna speak like this in court as well? He's gonna answer every question with just the fucking bingo card of Mueller, Russia, Ukraine, Biden, Hunter Biden's laptop.
It's so amazing.
You know how people always like to compare. Oh, sorry. I muted myself. You know how people always like to compare America to Weimar Germany? It actually was the case that after the beer hall putsch, Hitler was just, the judges were so sympathetic to Hitler that they just let him give speeches on the stand and allowed him to like bully the witnesses and shit like that. Like he just basically got to do Hitler speeches in the middle of a courtroom when he was being found guilty of trying to overthrow the government. So
Yeah,
I think that's one big
pretty,
difference. Is I can't imagine Trump being allowed to do this on a stand.
No, I'm pretty sure the judge already told him to shut the fuck up. So I kind of hope he does, because that would be like an instantaneous like contempt of court charge. I was hoping he was going to do it yesterday when he pled.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll see. Maybe the one time we wanted to start talking. Oh well.
Right?
Hey, how likely do you think it is, based on what you know so far, that he's going to actually get convicted?
So, wait, sorry. I have no idea. So the conviction is a lot harder to get than the indictment. If I'm remembering correctly, a grand jury does not need to be unanimous in a vote to indict. A jury in a criminal case absolutely has to be unanimous.
Okay.
Even if one person says no, you can't convict. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't declare a mistrial and possibly bring the charges again, but if he doesn't get a conviction on the first chance here, there's no way that they're going to go another round with this if a mistrial is declared.
So this is all has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, right?
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
And we know that Trump supporters aren't big on actual facts or evidence. So if you get like one hardcore MAGA dude on that jury, he could fuck it totally.
Are they going to be able to? Do they vet for that? I know with the Rittenhouse thing or with the George Floyd Chauvin trial, they vetted. They had to get rid of so many jurors because they were like partisan. Is it going to be the same thing with this?
You can vet to a certain extent. It's called, I always mispronounce it. It's called like voir dire, which is when the attorneys go back and forth asking the jurors questions, and then when you originally get called to jury duty, there's more people than they actually need for the jury, and then each side gets, I believe, 2 strikes for cause, and then 2 strikes that they can just kick people off the jury without any explanation why. So they could possibly use, like, if they are made aware of somebody's like crazy ultra MAGA shit, they could possibly use one of their strikes for cause for that. But the strikes just for any reason, you can't really figure it out. They can just cut you for whatever reason. Does that make sense? That was a really slappy
Yeah,
explanation.
that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Massive election interference at a scale never seen before in our country, beginning with the radical left, George Soros-backed prosecutor Alvin Bragg of New York,
The radical
who
left.
campaigned on the fact that he would get President Trump. I'm going to get him. I'm going to get him. This is a guy campaigning. He wanted to get President Trump at any cost, and this before he knew anything about me, didn't know a thing about me. He was campaigning. As it turns out, virtually everybody that has looked at this case,
I didn't
including
even know people could do boo with the Omega laws. That's funny.
rhinos and even hardcore Democrats, say there is no crime and that it should never have been brought. Never have been brought. Everybody. Even people that aren't big fans have said it. They said this is not the right thing to do.
Oh,
It's an insult to our country as the world is already laughing at us.
is he talking about Destiny? His opponent who doesn't. I think Destiny doesn't agree with this. I can't remember. Oh well.
For so many other reasons, like our open
Or I
border,
think he's skeptical. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
our incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan, where we left behind American citizens, $85 billion.
Oh, elite grade helicopters. Remember that? We left behind the elite grade helicopters. It didn't matter that they were all disabled. Yeah. Okay, now don't forget Afghanistan, guys. Forget the pull out. Pull out Biden.
Worth of the best military equipment in the world. Lost 13 magnificent young lives and far too many to mention that are so badly hurt with the loss of arms and legs and facial obliteration.
Facial
The most
obliteration.
embarrassing time in our country's history, in my opinion. Then our give up on energy independence and even energy dominance. We're going to be dominant within 6 months, more than any other nation times 2. We had this all just 3 years ago. Our raging crime statistics, if you look in Democrat-run cities, numbers the likes of which we have never seen before. The open threats by various countries of the use of nuclear weapons, something never mentioned or discussed by outside nations during the Trump administration, and which could very well lead under the Biden administration's leadership to an all-out nuclear World War III. Can happen. We're not very far away from it, believe it or not. An economy that has been crippled by the biggest inflation we have seen in more than 60 years, and a military that I used to defeat ISIS in 4 weeks. They said it would take 4 years. 4 weeks. To kill al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, that has now gone woke at the top levels by trying to indoctrinate everyone down to the lowest ranking patriot. But now they have really stepped up their efforts by indicting the 45th president of the United States, who received
Biden.
75 million votes, which is more than any sitting president in the history of our country. And in the wings, they've got a local racist Democrat district attorney in Atlanta who is doing everything in her power to indict me over an absolutely perfect phone call, even more perfect than the one I made with the president of Ukraine. Remember, I kept saying that's a perfect call. This one was more perfect. Nobody said, sir, you shouldn't say that. Many people on the phone. Or hung up in disgust because of something I inappropriately said.
What the fuck is he? Oh, it's the perfect phone call. Yeah.
Because nothing was
Impeachment.
said wrong. In
Okay.
fact, at the end of the call, we agreed to continue our conversation about election fraud, and election fraud specifically in Georgia at a later time. Many people on the phone, including lots of lawyers, nobody found anything wrong with that perfect call until a book promotion tour many months later. All of a sudden they say, you know, I remember Trump making a call. Let's look at that.
Why did I think this would have anything to do with the trial? Why?
This fake case was brought only to interfere with the upcoming 2024 election.
Oh, the Find Me the Votes call? Yeah. I just need 11,433 votes. Give her.
Should be dropped immediately. Immediately.
Come on, find me the votes. Come on.
Then you have a radical left lunatic known as a bomb
Hey,
thrower.
pause it for a minute.
Yeah.
So those kind of comments there should be dropped immediately. I think he mentioned brag ones. So that's the type of thing that could possibly get him into trouble.
Like trying to
So,
smear his the DA, right? Yeah. With his
yeah,
Soros.
or just
Yeah.
or just sway the outcome of the jury of the case,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, because he's speaking to jurors as well, right? Like potentially, yeah.
He's speaking to potential jurors. Yes.
Whoa. Oh dear. Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
Who is harassing hundreds of my people day after day over the boxes hoax. You know, the boxes hoax, as we call it.
Yeah.
Just so everyone knows, I come under what's known as the Presidential Records Act, which was designed and approved by Congress long ago just for this reason.
Oh.
Under the act, I'm supposed to negotiate
Someone say box. Box in the box. Are you talking about us? Can you hear us? Is Donald Trump a Loner Box viewer?
with NARA, the National Archives and Records Administration, which as of this date is a radical left troublemaking organization that red flags the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights as dangerous and triggering. Can you imagine? This is what we have to deal with. But there is no criminality under the Presidential Records Act. That is not what it's all about. We were negotiating in very good faith, proper way, in order to return some or all of the documents that I openly and in very plain sight brought with me to Mar-a-Lago from our beautiful White House, just as virtually every other president has done in the past.
Okay, we've been listening.
Okay. I think we've squeezed everything we can from that, from the cow that is Trump's indictment.
all right. Is my work here done?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you very much for helping out. Okay. Take
No
care, okay?
problem. Hey, I fucked your dad. Bye.
Fucking bitch. All right, sorry. Sorry, I shouldn't call women bitches, but I think that was clearly that was clearly a joke. Hate that person. Hate that person. Piece of shit. The thing is, it should be okay to talk like that as a joking manner. I just don't know how many misogynist wankers are in my audience, because it seems to be that every time a hint of ironic misogyny comes into a fucking Twitch community and a fucking boys club, the community just goes absolutely insane. You can't do it. It's just not allowed. Exhibit C for Chud Logic.